GM is doubling the Super Cruise road network. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. With us from GM is Super Cruise mapping specialist Dave Craig. Hi, Dave.
Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Terrific. Well, GM is announcing that the company's first true hands-free driver assistance technology, Super Cruise, will be available on more roads in the U.S. and Canada. Give us the overview for people who aren't familiar with this at all. What is this road network, and tell us about the growth here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So Super Cruise, like you said, is the world's first true hands-free driving vehicle, first hands-free driving feature. We operate on what has been divided high-speed highways, and I want to emphasize the word divided. This expansion is now taking Super Cruise onto non-divided roads. So that's the big news. What we have typically operated on is what people would think of as interstates or divided highways. Now we're going to start to operate on the rural state highways, the highways that are typically called routes or routes.
All right. So tell us more specifically where.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you think of these routes and routes, some famous ones come to mind. Route 66, which the mother road that connects Chicago to LA. We're going to operate on large portions of that still exist today. The Pacific Coast Highway, California Highway 1, possibly the most scenic route in the world. The Over the Seas Highway, the one that connects Miami to Key West. And to not leave out our Canadian friends, the Trans-Canada Highway that connects the eastern part of Canada to the western part of Canada.
So what does this mean for consumers when we say hands-free?
Yeah.
Describe for us, there may be some misconceptions out there, what this really does mean.
Yeah, so Super Cruise, when you engage Super Cruise, basically you take your hands off the wheel, the light bar will turn green and it tells you take your hands off the wheel. You'll take your feet off the pedals, but you cannot disengage. You cannot lay back, take a nap or anything like that. There's a driver attention system watching your face, watching your eyes, making sure you're still engaged, making sure you're still paying attention to the road, because this is not a driver replacement system. This is a driver assistance system.
So this isn't designed to let people go to sleep or play games or things that they
No,
might think, hey, hands-free, I can do anything I want.
Exactly. That will get here someday, but that's not here today.
So people are wondering then, okay, what is the purpose or benefit of being able to go hands-free on these roads?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent a lot of time behind the wheel of a Super Cruise vehicle, and I am a driver. I love to drive vehicles. I can tell you that the trip is more relaxing when you're in Super Cruise mode. You're not, interestingly enough, even though we don't feel like we're stressed while we're driving, we do have some stress while we're driving. And this alleviates a lot of that stress. So on the long trips, you actually get there more refreshed, more relaxed. You had a chance to look around and see the scenery a little more. It is a much more pleasurable experience just driving down the highway, getting to enjoy the drive a little more than you would if you were behind the wheel and actually had your hands on the wheel.
Does it take a little getting used to? Because if you're a driver, you're accustomed to being in control, and you might be second guessing the system at first anyway.
It does. So it's interesting to watch brand new people behind the wheel of Super Cruise. First, they'll take their hands off the wheel and leave their hands like 2 to 3 inches next to the wheel, ready to grab it at any minute. After 15 to 20 minutes, you'll see them relax, put their hands down in their lap, just really start to enjoy it, because they've learned that the system is actually keeping the car in the center of the road better than they do. So you start to trust the system very quickly because it is extremely good.
So looking forward, where are you going from here? How quickly will this be expanding to other roadways?
Yeah, absolutely. So General Motors has a vision of 0, 0, 0, and that stands for zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestions. Automated driving is a large part of this. Automated driving represents 2 of the 3 zeros, zero crashes and zero congestion. So it's our goal at General Motors to keep pushing this technology just as quickly as we can, as safely as we can. We're not going to roll out any technology that we don't feel is safe.
And right now it's designed for highways, not for the congested roads or urban areas where there's a lot of traffic.
That's right. Right now, Super Cruise operates on the highways, and it's really focused for the more rural areas. The more high-speed areas, not the dense urban areas full of intersections and traffic and congestion. But we are working on features that will target those specific areas. That's been talked about in the past. Ultra Cruise is the feature that's going to target that. I'm really not here today to talk about Ultra Cruise. I'm really here today to talk about Super Cruise and the expansion thereof. But yes, we are working on that.
And you're on the mapping end. And maps can change, and there are different scenarios where there's, construction. We've got the infrastructure bill. There's stuff
That's
going
right.
on. How do you deal with all that?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. That's the hardest part of my job, actually, keeping the maps fresh, keeping the maps current. We actually track construction through the state DOTs. We're actually in communication with the state DOTs constantly through our mapping supplier partner, Usher. We leverage them quite heavily. And so we have knowledge of the road changes before the roads actually do change. We have knowledge of what is going to change, how it's going to change. So when roads are changing significantly, we will actually shut off Super Cruise and turn off that section of road that we know is changing. Once the road is done and complete, Usher will send a vehicle back out, re-LiDAR scan the road, and reprocess the map, and we will deliver that update via OTA, over-the-air updates, to the vehicle. All this will happen in the background, and the customer will never even notice that it occurred.
So if I'm behind the wheel, does the car let me know when the Super Cruise is available? How do I know?
Yeah, absolutely. As you're driving down the road, you will see a little icon come up on the dash that says Super Cruise is available. And then you hit the button to engage Super Cruise. As you are approaching the end of the Super Cruise availability, it'll go through an escalation process where the steering wheel will start flashing red, and that signifies you're supposed to take control again. And it will keep steering until you take control.
And if I try to turn it on, hit that button when it's not available,
Yeah, it'll actually
nothing
come up with a
happens, or
message and tell you why it's not available, whether there's no road information, in other words, you're not on a drivable road, or if there's some other problem, like, maybe the lane lines on the road have totally faded away and the camera can't see it, and it'll say, cannot detect lane lines. So it will tell you why it cannot engage.
Terrific. So for more information on all of this, where can people go?
Absolutely. So we have several websites available that you can go read more information on. Cadillac.com, Super Cruise, Chevrolet.com, Super Cruise, and GMC.com, Super Cruise. All of these have a unique, distinct web page that tells you all about Super Cruise and gives you a map that shows you the coverage that we have.
Terrific. Dave Craig, thank you so much for spending time with us.
You're very welcome. It's nice to meet you, Fred.